I think now I have to thank you so much for having me here, Chris. I have to differentiate, and this is a sad thing because at the moment we have to differentiate between different parts of the Iranian society. We have to differentiate between the Iranians who are pro-monarchists that were shouting for Trump and thanking Trump to attack Iran and supporting Netanyahu's warmongering narratives and what he was putting out there. We have the pro-Islamic Republic part of Iran. I am coming from this majority of Iranians who wouldn't fit into these two buckets that would be thinking about Iran as a nation that existed much longer than, the modern history. It's been a country that included all of these different fractions, different ideas, different ethnicities, religions, and we lived alongside each other. But I think what happened, and it's important to the context of what we are seeing now, is that for the last 47 years, the Islamic Republic, as a governing body of Iran, has been oppressing its own people. It created the same narrative that we are seeing now done by the monarchists, that divides people instead of bringing them together. What we've seen in January has been the gradual kind of accumulation of violence to the level that we've seen, and there are so many nuances around it, that why it happened in that way, why it was brutally cracked down. But I want to focus on one part of it, and is that it desensitized Iranians towards violence in a sense that it traumatized what happened during the protest on 8th and 9th of January. It created an environment that the Iranians felt that was the last drop, that we don't have any agency. There's nothing we can do to stop this government to killing our children, killing us on the streets, there are bloodshed. So if there is a war, we're going to stand by and see what happens. And this is the majority feeling, even until last night inside the country. People like my mom, who's 82 years old, she was like, I don't care. Trump is a crazy person. I understand he's crazy. I understand he's not our side. But if as a result, side effect of what he's doing, this Islamic Republic would go away, that would be good. But what happened in reality is that the Iranian regime has been smarter and outsmarting and preparing for this moment for 47 years. We know, and this is not a new thing. I've seen a lot of people are talking about, since the 12 days war, the Iranian regime decentralized itself. The decentralization of the system started much before that. It started with going around the sanctions. In the last 20 years, it evolved massively, and it got to the point that by the time that the 12 days war started, their thinking was already in place, their plans were already in place, but it wasn't fine-tuned for what the war brought to their mind. So now it's fine-tuned to the level that destruction of this network state is impossible. Because they divided the command system to 31 regions. Now you have this new generation of commanders who are they call themselves the third generation. They're much more hardliner in their narratives. They don't believe in any kind of deal. Trump's talking about making a ceasefire, we're negotiating. The narrative you hear from that side is that we won the war and we brought him to his knees, and now he has to make a deal with us. And the demands they put on the table are the 10 amendments that they're asking for are quite strong hand, and they do have the strong hand because they managed to do the impossible, which is basically affecting the world economy in a short amount of time without that much of expenses in terms of military expenses and spending loads of money on missiles and airplanes. But then we shouldn't forget that this is happening at the time, no matter what the deal would look like at the end of this. I think this is a situation that Trump is going on a negotiation table with a group that believes they won the war, they have the upper hand, and now they have to bring him down to his knees. And this is going to be a really tough positioning for Trump to keep his face safe and be able to say he won. We had this brief conversation with Chris. But also, I think it puts the international community in a really dire situation of now you have this government who believes, and it's the expansionist ideology. When you listen to what these people are saying about how they envision the future of Iran, it's the same as the Israeli expansionists, and they see the threat of expansion of Israel. So these two are going to clash with each other at some point. So in the future, no matter of what's happening now on the table, we will come to a point that we have to face that. But meanwhile, also, how would they control the flow of goods through the Strait of Hormuz? It's impossible to, unless Iran agrees fully to allow them. And then you would have, they already had a taste of it. You would have this government who thinks we have the upper hand. If someone is disagreeing with us, we're not going to allow their ships to go through. And this has been, this government has been kidnapping people, right? Taking hostages of foreign people who are traveling to the country. I cannot imagine a scenario that there is a civil agreement between this more hardliner part of the government to sit down and say, we're not going to take this leverage and put pressure on the international community. They're going to milk this cow until the end of it. So then what is the role of international community, the Gulf regions, the countries in the region? I think there is a need for a new moral leadership against what Trump is doing and Netanyahu is doing, and also Islamic Republic is doing in the international community to try to find a way through this. I don't know how it would look like. Would it be diplomatic? How you would bring someone who thinks they have every right to do whatever they want back to the negotiation table? I don't really have any answers to those questions. But I think more than anything, we have to be ready for a prolonged, decentralized war that would continue. Right now, the reasons that I'm pushing this is because when you look at the Strait of Hormuz from the perspective of international relations, this is a problem that needs to be resolved. And it hasn't been resolved, and there is no easy answer to it in a short time. Then you have a country that is, people are against it. Even, when Trump decided last night to announce the ceasefire, a lot of Iranians like me, and even inside Iran, I had the privilege of talking to some of our networks inside Iran today. They were all waiting for the moment to see what happens next. I have to say, and that's unfortunate, but a lot of people were hoping that this war would continue. Even the people who genuinely, in normal circumstances wouldn't be pro-war because they feel there's nothing else for them and this government is going to kill them. And we've seen, even now they execute people on a daily basis, they arrest people, they put pressure on my family because my brother in Turkey posted something against the regime on his social media. And like during this war time, they sent 3 people to our house to arrest my parents. So you're dealing with this and you're thinking, okay, let the war continue. But now people are more disillusioned with the notion that the war would be the solution for us. What else we can do? And this is brilliant to see that people are thinking about new ways of, taking back agency for themselves and finding ways. But it means in the long term for these new governments in Iran, they have a really hard time to keep hold on the country. We already have the Kurds, the Arabs, the Baluch being armed and ready to go in at some point. It's a new generation, as the government has a new generation. The blood on the streets are new generations as well. They're not going to give up on the rights they want to have just because Iran won the war or there is a ceasefire or anything. So there would be dissent in the country, there would be protests, there would be other ways of pushing back on the government. So in the combination of this situation, I know I'm running over the time, I would say we would see a region that would change maybe slower than what we were predicting, but it would be a region that would push and pull and try to reorganize itself around this new power structure that are all destabilized and can collapse instantly. So we would see a time of uncertainty in the region, at least for the next 3 to 5 years.